Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the European Crucible here. My name is Tetcher, and we're in America. I'm joined by the marvelous Grubby. How are you doing, friend?
I'm doing so good because we are here, Tetcher, and it's just about time to see the culmination of 3 months of epic qualifications.
Yes, it is. I'm, in fact, in full motion video this time. We couldn't get a full cardboard-sized cutout of me to get the full Grubby stream experience due to my bad internet. So instead, we're here in person to bring you all the excitement of the Crucible. We're going to be having the top 2 teams who have been playing for, like Grubby said, 3 months to get to this point through playoffs, through Open Division Cups. And they've been putting in so much effort just to get to this point where they're going to play against the bottom 2 teams from the main HGC. Let's have a quick look at the Open Division bracket that these teams had to fight through. This is the playoffs you can see here. And the number 1 standing team, Zealots, were able to fight their way all the way up to the top, but they weren't able to win.
Yeah, Zealot looked, for all intents and purposes, the entire season long to be the number 1 favorite of the Open Division in Europe. But at the very end here in the playoffs, they suffered a defeat against Team GREYMANE, 1-3 in the finals.
Indeed, they did. And to a lot of people, that might have been unexpected. We also had some incredible other competition from teams like Polska Pamięta, 4K MMR Average. But the best part about this is all these teams have such familiar names. We're going to be starting today with Zealots versus Synergy. And Zealots, they have a lot of pedigree in that lineup. They have Gran Paqueta, part of that legendary Team Liquid lineup that just won a full year of dominance. We have Zamani, 2nd place at BlizzCon, and he's having to get into HGC through the Open Division. This is the kind of caliber we're talking here.
Yeah, if we didn't know the 8 pro teams that we know about now through Pro Division in the first half of this year, we would have thought that the members on Team Zealot, in their own right, would be part of the pro scene. You could say that the members of Team Zealot should have been part of the pro scene by their skill, by their pedigree, by their experience. So to see them here in Open Division fighting in an all-or-nothing moment here to get into the next part of Pro Division, it seems fitting.
Yeah, but in order to get there, they're going to have to go through the bottom 2 teams, or at least one of the bottom 2 teams from the main HGC League. You can see here the standings where Synergy is going to be what we have playing against Zealots because BGenius, bottom of the bracket, was called out by our winner of the Open Division, Team GREYMANE. That match will be happening tomorrow. But Synergy, they were able to get the exact same score as BGenius in the end, but were looking stronger for most of the year. But overall, they've still managed to get themselves into the Crucible, so they are now fighting to hold their spot.
Yeah, what we're going to be seeing today, ladies and gentlemen, is a best of 7 between these 2 teams, where only the winner will go into Pro Division, where they will secure themselves the salary, the chance to win more prize money, the chance to go to offline events, all of that in one single best of 7 here today. Win or lose, all or nothing.
Yeah, it's all down to this. All of, like you said, 3 months of effort coming down to one best of 7, which is a lot of games to play if we go right to the end. And honestly, I believe this series could. We currently have the schedule ready for you guys, so you can see what matches we have today and what matches we have tomorrow. Today, like we said, it is Synergy versus Zealots, but that doesn't mean you can go anywhere after it's done because the American Crucible is happening afterwards with Naventic versus Imported Support.
Very cool match that one is going to be as well. And of course, we just came hot off the heels of the Korean Crucible match.
Yes, we did, where we saw Raven were able to retain against Cluster Gaming Unbalanced. And that was a strange one because Cluster Gaming were dominant in their Open Division. They were able to, I believe, win every single cup. I don't know if they won the last one or not. I believe they did. But then getting 4-1'd by Raven, who, by all intents and purposes, looked a bit wonky for the entire year, that just goes to show the kind of level differences you don't get to see. But Zealots, they have been scrimming against multiple of the top HGC teams. They're feeling confident today.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 different ecosystems meeting, right? Here you have one team that wins all 7 or almost all 7 of the Open Division Cups. And you think, okay, they're undefeated. Then you have on the other side the pro team that barely won a series in the Pro Division. How do they match up? 4-1 victory for the pro team.
Exactly,
so
and
we'll see.
We did ask some of the teams how they thought this would match up. So let's hear what Synergy had to say about Team Zealots.
We don't have a lot of information about Team Zealot. We see only final games with them. I think they have good players, but it's all what I can say about this team. We are feeling good. I think we win at this weekend without any problems. But let's see what happened. It's all for me. I want to be a part of this league. I like this game. I want to play with best players in the world. So I want to be a part of this.
Win without any problems was the quote there. So Synergy, they are feeling up to the challenge of Team Zealots. Pedigree or none, Synergy have been in the main HGC for this entire time. They earned their place there when we had the qualifiers earlier last year. But now they're fighting for their spot. But there's some confidence in them. There's some fire lit under them now that their place is in jeopardy.
Yeah, Synergy look very strong in the early and mid game of the games that they play. They look like a solid team where everything is coming together as it should, but they have sometimes some problems in the late game. This is the characteristic that we know about them. As for Team Zealot, they went into the qualifiers with a very confident approach. They play their own heroes, which may not be the same as the rest of the scene follows, but they played their own thing. They played very predictably. They drafted very by their fundamentals, and they were able to just get a lot of wins on pure mechanics, pure skill, and just teamwork and team fights.
Yes, we did. So for now, let's have a quick look at some tweets here. People are talking about the Crucible all over the world, and we actually have here Fnatic Smexy. And he is right. This is a life-changing experience potentially for these teams. 6 months of competitive experience can make or break teams in some cases.
And that's the real question here that I have in my mind here, Tetcher. We see Zealot, they looked dominant, and I thought for sure they will beat whatever team drops out from Pro Division. But it's that competitive experience that Team Synergy has been garnering so far that could be a very important part of the formula here.
And here we have Graham Paqueta from Team Zealots himself. 6 months fighting for this day. Win or go home. And that's exactly what this is. There's no prize for second place here. If you lose, no matter if you're from HGC or from Open Division, you're going right back to Open Division. There is no second place. This is all or nothing for these teams.
Now, technically, of course, he is at home, but
technically, yes.
It has a very symbolic meaning because it does mean going back to the drawing board, playing Open Division Cup 8 to 14, trying to get in next season. And that is a very long breath to have for these youngsters here who are fighting for what could be their professional gaming dream to be coming true.
Exactly. There's so much pressure behind this. And honestly, we've talked about these matchups so often, but Team Zealots have been so consistently good for the entire year. We do have, from being from the Open Division, we have a lot of attachment to these teams. We don't have a bias, but Zealots look strong. There is the potential for them. Like you said, their draft style can sometimes be a bit more predictable, a bit more standard, but if it's standard, that usually means it works.
Yeah, and what you can see in the way that they drafted in these open playoff games, very differently from almost every other participant in the qualifiers, they play heroes that may not be as good online in regular games and in practice games, but they know they're the power level heroes. Yeah. Tyrael, Zeratul, heroes that always seem to fade a little bit into obscurity because they're hard to play and because you want to keep your weapons secret. But at the big events, they always pop out because they have such game-changing heroic abilities. And they play those heroes well, Tyrael, Zeratul, and the like. And their coordination, it looks good. So I think they'll be a match for Synergy.
They might be. Let's find out, though, where these teams will be battling it out. Let's have a look at the battlegrounds here. Once again, this is a best-of-7 series, so we're going to be playing most of these battlegrounds. We have seen Dragonshire being the first map picked up. Cursed Hollow, usually one of our standards here, has been banned.
Yeah, Dragonshire being the first pick is interesting because if you've just started Heroes of the Storm in the last month or so, since the advent of Heroes 2.0, you may not have played this battleground yet, you may not have seen it yet. It is one of the most interesting maps in the entire pool. There's a lot of coordination necessary. There's a lot of little split fights, 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s in different places, and teamwork is of absolutely quintessential importance.
Yes, it is. This is a map where it can be more important to just deny your opponent the objective than actually getting it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Works very differently to a lot of the other maps where on Cursed Hollow, for example, which, like we said, we saw banned out there, which is strange. We'll talk about that in a bit. But it is a map where you have to play a lot more rotation-based and a lot more XP-based. But for now, we are heading into the draft. Game number 1, Dragonshire, and the first ban is going over to Zealots.
All right, let's see how it's going to go down. Ariel is going to get banned immediately. Not the highest of win rates on the general ladder, sitting at around 48% win rate or so, but she is a hero that excels exceptionally well with certain damage dealers like Vala, like Gul'dan, and if played well, it's going to work out. It's such a strong pick here, and seeing that ban makes sense because Sefka from Synergy, he loves the aggressive supports, and Ariel's definitely a big damage dealer here, now denied to him.
Exactly. It's very, speaking, though, of big damage dealers, we see GENJI as the first pick. He is the most recent hero allowed in the professional scene, and he has exploded into popularity. We saw him, I believe, 4 out of the 5 games in the Crucible for Korea earlier today. Now we're seeing him as first pick coming in for Team Zealots.
A highly mobile assassin, GENJI harasses the backline heroes and tries to get those crucial finishing blows on anyone that drops
those resets
low enough.
Resets are beautiful, only this time you are much more up close than Li Ming, the other hero with that kind of mechanic.
Yeah, so GENJI as the first pick. Let's see, how does one counter GENJI? Presumably you need some kind of lockdown, stunts, roots, silences. Malfurion is a popular hero against him often.
Zebo has none of these things.
Nope.
But he does have a very cool zombie wall and says very cool phrases. But Tyrael, on the other hand, can have lockdown if teams want to go with a bit more of a blow-up comp with Judgment. Otherwise, Sanctification can be the difference between GENJI getting into that backline and blowing up your late-game damage dealer in the form of Nazebo, or then Nazebo staying alive and dropping all of that spider damage onto the GENJI. So very important pick very early on there for Synergy.
And also, Dragonshire, by exception, is one of the maps where we expect games to go more into the late game.
Yeah.
And Nazebo, he's a late game hero. Why? Well, he's got very strong talents at level 16 and level 20 that really up his damage dealing potential. So Synergy here, they're making ready for a longer game.
Yes, they are. They are prepping for the late game, and like you said, it is very common to happen on this map. So it is very cool to see. So now, what are we going to see from Zealots? 2 more picks for them. We had a talk with some of the with the 2 main HGC casters earlier, where they mentioned that maybe Synergy have been hiding stuff in their later games from the HGC. So we are keeping a special eye on them in terms of potential shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see stuff like that. For now, though, like we said, this is relatively okay. This is relatively normal. Nazebo and something to protect him. Now Zealots, a Nubarak, good backline engage onto the Nazebo, and a Malfurion, standard healer.
Sonya has been rising a lot in popularity recently, despite a number of changes to her that reduced her power level. After that, it seems like she gained even more in prominence than before. However, it will be GREYMANE that's going to be getting banned here by Synergy.
Reasonable. Good burst damage to follow up onto the Anub engage, even if Nazebo doesn't time his Icebox very well, or Tyrael's not in range to Sank if that's what he's going for. GREYMANE's the perfect hero for blowing a hero like Nazebo up.
Now, on Dragonshire, it is always very important to draft strong solo laners for the top lane, and a very strong 4-man rotational team for the rest. We see Ragnaros getting banned out here. He's a very good top laner. He can hold his own, and he can add his power to taking the objective very well.
And it's a solid ban, because we know Hydra can just be absolutely dominant if you put him on a solo lane hero every now and again. So a solid ban out from them. Like you said, he can kind of wreck stuff, especially if he has to Molten Core in mid lane. He can just deny that Dragon Knight all day and give time for rotations. And of course, one of the most deadly heroics in the game if you have set up for it.
A very glaring absence in the strategy of this draft so far is now being fulfilled by Synergy. Yeah, Dragonshire, I mean, it is not the very hugest of maps, but it is so useful to have those globals where you can teleport or burrow or fly all the way from one side to the other. And Dahaka and Falstad are the most prominent forerunners of that strategy. Synergy picking them up now. It seems late for both teams, but they got that double global threat there.
Yeah, double global threat and double tank now. They have sustained damage, they have some good ability power damage, they have double tanks, they have some protection for those backline damages. All they need is the support, which could still see one of them picked away. Double support still completely fine as a composition, so if Zealots want to run something a bit more of aggressive support, maybe like a Karazim, they could absolutely do so.
I think Zealots might just be going for another warrior and an assassin. They already have a Nubarak with lockdown, with cocoon.
And a noob solo warrior can be a bit rough. It's still reasonable in some situations, but against a Falstad especially, who's going to be going auto-attack builds, it can get super rough for him.
And plus, when you cocoon one, you want to delete the rest fast before cocoon comes free again. There we go with Leoric.
Leo and Vala. Now,
right.
Vala is an exciting hero for us because of Poik on Team Zealots. He is a dominant Vala. Zealots one of the biggest users of the so-called Holy Trinity combo when it was at its maximum providence of Vala, the Tassadar and the Ariel.
Yeah, basically from Team Zealot, if you gave Poik, Vala or Tracer, and especially Vala, you would lose the game in the open division. That seemed to be an axiom, an undeniable truth. Now Synergy is looking for their support. They already have Tyrael, who is a quasi-support with shields and sanctification. Sefka, from the support from Synergy, he likes aggressive support.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Karazim, he can get out of the clutches of Entomb, of stuns. He can punish GENJI more effectively than most supports.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, Uther maybe?
Uther is who I was going to say, due to the fact that what is the one thing we said that can really deal with GENJI? That is lockdown, and this is something that Uther has in spades. And he also does have, once again, another invulnerable if they want to go for not as much lockdown, but still a lot of extra protection for the team against that GENJI in the situation. REHGAR is the support for Synergy.
So I'm surprised by REHGAR in terms of what draft they're going up against by Team Zealot. REHGAR, he can get locked down by Entomb. He doesn't have the punishing potential against someone like GENJI.
Doesn't have self-armor against heroes like Vala, for example.
But what he does have is very strong rotational force. And he can use Lightning Shield on himself and on allies to quickly clear lanes in the middle, in the bottom, and then gain control of the map.
So, we have our drafts for the first game. Overall, both look really strong. Zealots is very Zealot-esque, I will say that much. Whereas Synergies, I kind of agree with you on the REHGAR, could potentially be a problem, but they already do have Tyrael, so they have maybe a bit more engaged potential than they would have otherwise, but less immediate burst protection against that GENJI. So what do you feel about these drafts?
I like the Team Zealot draft a little bit more. I think a Nubarak has very high value, and I'm not surprised to see him picked up earlier than the much talked about globals on a map like Dragonshire. I think a Nubarak can take control of the fight. If the synergy, ironically, between Team Zealot is right, I do believe that they have what it takes to come out on top. But it's going to be a very telling game no matter what here, the first game.
Indeed. I am going to lean towards you with that. We're actually going to both be leaning towards Zealots here. And in terms of players to watch, I'd probably say whoever is on GENJI, which I would assume would be Shad or Zarmani. But Zarmani's on tank, so I assume that would be Shad on GENJI.
I think so.
Keep an eye on him. If he can get those resets, then it could just be all over. If Nazeebo isn't protected efficiently or even REHGAR's focused down, then that could just be game over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. It's a best of 7. None of these teams have ever been tested in a manner such as this, best of 7. Yeah. In the West, usually it's been best of 5s, it's been best of 3s, and this is going to be quite a knuckle duster here between these teams.
Yes, it is, but it is time to test them as we are loaded into the game, ladies and gentlemen. And like I already said, game number 1 on Dragonshire. We're going to be heading straight in for you and getting this right underway.
All right, let's see how this is going to be going down. Team Synergy versus Team Zealot, the first match of the European Crucible, a best of 7. And here on the left, we have Team Synergy with Sefka, Power of Dream on Tyrael. We've got Neon on Falstad. We've got Sir Ice Cream on Nazeebo. And finally, Hydra on Dahaka.
Whereas on the other side, it is our open division team, Team Zealots, Grand Paqueta on the Malfurion, Mopsio on the Anubarak. We have Poik on that Vala. It is a bit legendary. Zarmani is on that Leoric. And we did predict it. It's Shad, and he's going to be on the GENJI.
All right, let's see what mischief GENJI can cause on this map. The top laner presumably is going to be Leoric versus Dahaka. Leoric kind of wins the one-on-one matchup, but Dahaka can often reset his HP and mana count by porting on the map. Now, we have an aggressive tower attack here. This is not without risk. It has a nice benefit, getting some tower damage, sometimes getting that XP, but if your opponent's ready and waiting to pounce, you can sometimes pay the price.
And with a Nubrak, it works quite well. You have the beetles to tank the tower shots, and you do have some counter stun as well in case of that rotation to try and kill you. So overall, nicely done. They weren't able to get the tower, but it's definitely a good start. Shad coming over the wall already. They're going for Tyrael. One of the two hardest heroes to probably kill in the game, along with Tassadar, since Alpha. It's always been those two trying to lock him down. Engage onto Zarmany as well, forcing him back, but he's Leoric, so he will regen that back quite quickly.
And yeah, and he might need his unique trait as well, where when he dies, he goes into ghost form, can still play on the map, and will come back faster than other heroes. Because Leoric here, Zarmany, he faces a unique challenge where anytime he oversteps the middle part of that top lane, suddenly Falstad can be there, fly on top of him, do the damage, and take him down. This is such a difficult lane to play. It's not just that one-on-one between Dahaka and him. He always has that threat of Falstad flying in.
Yeah, this is the fear of globals that can just be so terrifying here. Something worth note here, Valor is going for a Hungering Arrow build, not going for either the auto attack or the multi-shot builds here. Just going to try and burst down mercenaries and also help clear in the minion waves.
Yeah, and it has a very strong dueling potential here. I already mentioned at Dragonshire, there's a lot of one-on-ones, two-on-twos, three-on-threes, and so forth. Yeah. It's not all about that 5v5 team fight.
Oh, Shad going for power. Able to get out.
Vala with that Hungering Arrow build has the best dueling build, which is also the safest. Auto attack is very strong in dueling, not very safe. You need to stand still and shoot or stutter step a bit. Hungering Arrow does a lot of burst damage. It can heal herself if she so chooses. A lot of damage on the single target.
Sevkar getting focus. Here's GENJI, and that is secured. And that is going to be first blood going over to Zealots, and they're going to be able to grab that bottom shrine. And Leoric is making a play for top as well. They may try to go for the Dragon Knight here.
Now Falstad is guarding against GENJI. GENJI engages Falstad directly, but will not be able to duel him out that fast. GENJI, Nazeebo goes down there in the bottom lane. Well done by Mopsio, Poyok, and Grand Paquette getting that damage. Now, even when you channel the lasers, you control the north and the southern beacon on Dragonshire. That does not mean that you necessarily will get the Dragon Knight, nor necessarily need to get the Dragon Knight. You can just use that pressure.
Option, and like you said, that gives pressure to the enemy onto the enemy team. Another talent that is worth talking about, because he was actually changed not that long ago, is Dahaka. His talents have been swapped around a bit, where what you would normally see is the primal aggression, which allows you to kill minions a lot quicker, has sort of been added into his base kit. So for this, instead, he's going with tissue regeneration, giving him extra health regen, making him a bit more viable as just a walk-in tank, which is what Dahaka is usually used as in team fights.
Yeah, he collects regeneration globes. He hasn't had access to as many as he would like, because Leoric has been pressuring him.
Yeah.
He's got about 2 now.
He is it is done by essence, but the reading globes give more essence in this case. So he's doing all right. He's got the extra essence from minions, so he's getting as much as he can. But like you said, Leoric being a pain, that extra range on his Drain Hope is going to be repeatedly annoying.
Now Mopsio is looking to do a lot of this. Burrow charge in.
Zombie Wall, though, they're attempting to turn it around and try and isolate Grand Paquette, especially with the roam from Hydra here. And Grand Paquette goes down. Mopsio getting dropped. Does he have Burrow up again? Yes, he does, but he's still killed off by the Eldritch Smite from Tyrael. Sevka is Hungering Arrow. Now Poik needs to survive, and he will just get out. This chasing Smite by Tyrael.
That's Poyok for you.
Oh,
one versus...
Shad, oh my god, Shad.
So Poyok is in a 1 versus 4. He gets the kill against REHGAR. He gets out, and GENJI
sets up the kill for GENJI. Oh my god.
Very well done here. Now in Nubrak, he has a very aggressive build. Oh, GENJI!
Oh my god, Shad. Towers! Oh no, minions don't turn around! Oh my god. Shad, he's on the run. Hydra's gonna... The chase is prevented, and Shad shall get out, barely.
That has to be frustrating.
Oh my god. That's clippable is what that is. But we actually also see, by the way, Dahaka, he's gone for Feeding Frenzy. So like we said, more of a team fight-based build. Auto attacks reduce the cooldown of his drags and more CC. No way Zarmany's gonna get this, but he can once again, like we said, it's all about pressure.
Now, the mercenary camp control by Zealots, just like we've seen in Open Division, has been very good. Bruiser camp has now been taken by Team Zealot. You get a little bit of experience for capturing a camp. The opponent doesn't get any for then killing it when it's pushing for you, but what it does is it soaks up so much damage from those minion waves. It definitely allows you to win that lane for now. As you can see, Hydra, he's losing out on push here for having to compete on that Dragon Shrine there against Harmony.
Now with Neon here, though, they're going to be able to de-push that quite easily, so that is beneficial to them. In the meantime, though, the advantage has been taken in mid lane because, like we said, with Falstad rotating up, it is now 3 versus 2 in this mid lane. Now it's a 3 versus 1 because we have actually seen Nazeebo and REHGAR leave back to the bot lane. We're seeing an attempt for the Dragonite. There's no one here to contest it. So this is actually going to be the first Dragonite of the game going over to Zealots, and they have their 10s.
Now the Dragonite hits twice as hard on buildings as on anything else. Its attack speed cannot be slowed by forts and keeps, only its movement speed. And it has 2 abilities, a kind of running kick where it catapults an enemy hero through the air and it has a fire breath. All of it does double damage against buildings.
Hydra is very deep. He's healing. He's healing. It's not enough. The drain is enough to kill him here. And the Dragonite pressure is rotating through bot lane, but the health is starting to drop on it. It only has 26 seconds left. As long as the rotations happen, especially with heroics, they may be able to defend that without too much trouble and even chase away Zarmony from the mid lane.
All right, heroics on both sides. We've got Entomb, Dragonblade, Cocoon, Twilight Dream and Strafe for Team Zealots, and on Synergy, the expected heroics as well. Gargantuan, Ancestral Healing, Sanctification, Mighty Gust, and Adaptation.
Yeah, Adaptation. This is full tank Dahaka here, just helping his team out as much as possible. They are very sustainy with what they've done here. The front line is exceptionally tough to kill. They've gone for hammer gains on Falstad. The only person who does, even Nazeebo actually, has gone for the spider drain, basically, so that he drains damage from anyone he hits with the spiders. So they've all got some form of self-heal.
Yeah, exactly. Gets a percentage-based healing when his spiders take bites out of enemy heroes with that level 4 Hex Crawlers. Now, let's talk a bit about the situation. 2 versus 6 takedowns. We've got a level lead for Zealots. But the question is this really unexpected when you look at the draft?
Yeah, this is true. Zealots Synergy, like you said, that Nazeebo is really indicative of the late game for them, so they're just trying to survive that. But we mentioned earlier that sometimes Synergy have shown that they have trouble closing out games in the late game. They've got the right heroes for it this time. The question is, are they going to be able to execute it, or can Zealots continue to snowball? They're starting to creep their lead a little bit by little bit each time.
Now Zealots, actually conversely, in many of the open playoff games, they would not do amazing.
No, they would lose the early game. It seemed to be their curse. They would lose against some teams that, in our opinion, really they shouldn't have. In some cases, they would lose the early game by like 2 or 3 levels and then just come back with either a single team fight or just a really clutch objective play. It's the joy of Zealots. They can play from behind very easily.
So we're kind of in these opposite situations that by their profile, we would expect these teams to be in. But just once again, reiterating the draft, Falstad, Dahaka, Nazeebo, they are fantastic in the late game. Tyrael as well. And more so than some of the Zealot heroes per se. I wouldn't say that GENJI per se gets a lot better at 16 and 20 comparatively. So Synergy's not more behind them what you would expect. So the game is still fairly even, actually.
So GENJI is on 32 stacks of his Shuriken. So he's doing okay for this point in the game, keeping up quite nicely. Tyrael with 15 stacks of Regen Master. As they begin to put some pressure, Tyrael has some pressure put onto him. Gargantuan is dropped for the defense here, so this bot lane will hold, but that is a heroic dropped by Nazeebo that won't be available for the objective if they have to fight over it.
One shrine been taken for Zealot. They control the southern shrine at the moment. Poyok not keen to give this up against Power.
Dahaka coming in, there's the Gust. They have Grand Paqueta isolated, but he ice blocks, and the Cocoon gets him out because Dahaka couldn't get the stun. There's the kill from above by GENJI. Dragonblade is dropped. There's the Entomb. The Twilight Dream. Tyrael is completely obliterated, and now it is Sevka who's getting focused. There is that dueling burst that we talked about with the Hungering Arrow, and Sir Ice Cream is the only survivor.
It was a massacre. Zealot came together in the blink of an eye, and the Mighty Gust was not to be the power play that Synergy dreamed for it to be. Zealot cleans up, get 4 hero kills, they get the 2-level lead, and will now be slated to take the Dragon Knight. And the second Dragon Knight is a much stronger tool here than that first one, which is kind of tuned to be relatively weak. Here we go. It's going to... Wow, they're going to go straight for the keep.
He's thinking about it.
He's
Indecisive
sure.
Dragon Knight.
We've all felt that way.
Exactly. They're going for mid lane. This fort is doomed. By the way, opinion on a talent. REHGAR has gone for Earth Living Enchantment.
First time I've ever seen it.
Likewise.
I wonder if it's a misclick. If Synergy ends up winning, maybe we'll ask about it.
It could be burst protection against the high damage against it.
But it's
people
not.
lower than 50%. But it's a tick heal.
Yeah, I mean, when you're below 50%, you give an extra heal over time when your chain heal bounces on people. But with Zealot's deletion potential, with Twilight Dream, you wonder, how often are you going to be below 50? They will either kill you or they won't. Oh, here we go.
DK's popped. Zarmony is walking away and is just able to disengage. They don't get the keep, but it is now open. And there are mercenaries in this lane. Bruiser Camp in the bot lane, and these Siege Giants also push the bot lane. It's one of the scariest lanes you can ever be in.
But once again, about that one, it's interesting, isn't it? The Haka, full regeneration, false start with the lifesteal at 4, Gazebo, lifesteal at 4, then you've got REHGAR with the heal. Everything is about to sustain.
Their sanctification is dropped. Falstad's looking for an angle to really help here, but he was rooted by Malfurion. The camp was taken by Synergy here. Have Zealots overextended? Doesn't look like it. Poik, in fact, is going back in for more. And because of this zoning position they have, instead of retreating for what could have been an overextended position, Zealots choose to push even more and are taking out the mid lane.
I love that. They knew they routed the opponent out of that zone in the opposite direction. And they know they will only get about 5 or 10 seconds, and they make use of it so gratefully. Tetcher taking out that mid gate, every little bit helps. And look at their own side of the map. Towers have gone down at the very most. All of their forts are intact. Zealots look slated to very confidently take this first game here in the Crucible Europe.
Yes, they do. And Dahaka has finished his regenerative tissue. So he is now even more sustainy. He is going to be so tough to kill. He is with the adaptation, but even with the regenerative tissue, any sustain is good. And like we said, Tyrell with Regen Master as well. He's getting there. He's 21 in. He's creeping towards completing that, but it's a very hard talent to complete on most maps that aren't Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, if you're winning the early game, it's so much easier. You would have completed it already. You can get about 2 to 3 globes per minute. We're at 12, so you could have had his 30 globes already. But that's only if you're winning the lanes and not getting pushed out by Shad's Genji. Big push here at the bottom with Siege Camp.
2 levels ahead. They can afford this. Level 16 is only just about to become available by Synergy. So Synergy using a Gust. They're choosing not to try and fight while they're on even talents. They're just, once again, just waiting for an opportunity to try and make a comeback as they're trying to force back this push. But can they? The Gargantuan barely going to be able to kill off those Siege Giants, but the Bruiser's still holding the line here, and this keep will drop first of the game at 13 minutes, and Nubrak thinking about going in, so Ice Cream having to pop the ice block.
Yeah, he wanted to deny much of that burst from Vala's arrow. It was an okay move. He blocked much of that damage. It helped him a little bit. Puncturing arrow now has been completed for Vala. Now, they gave up that keep with talent equality. And I don't know if they'll have as good of an opportunity to fight here anymore, Tetcher.
Yeah, because look at this. We're seeing Zealots heading straight back to the objective again. So where can Synergy fight? They kind of just have to fight at the dragon statue, which they're too late to do because guess what? Moptio's already got it. And they can now either head straight through bot lane to attempt an early core, which would be very risky. We're only 14 minutes in. DK damage isn't as high as it could be. But if that fails, because they're going down there to put pressure on, if that fails, they just move up to mid lane and they take that instead.
But we've seen this a few times in Open Division. 14-minute Dragon Knight attempts on core. It's never worked
Genji's
yet.
on the way.
It's never worked yet. So let's see if Zealots will break with tradition and actually end the core here.
They're thinking about it. They're creeping in that direction. Moptio going the long way around.
Maybe they're just getting the fountain. Maybe they'll just get the fountain and go back.
Full DK just for the fountain. He's moving in core directly. He's going in. He's going for the core. He's being dragged away. Hydra going to keep getting that cooldown reduction. Dragon Knight getting dropped very quickly. And you can see the shield on the core still very high. But Poik, in the meantime, is decimating the backline of Synergy here. But with the DK dropped, this is a retreat. They don't get any core damage.
Well, they got the fountain.
A lot of pressure on it. Yeah, they got the fountain, I guess.
They got the fountain, they got shields. Pretty much what I expected would happen.
Yeah, they get the other fountain, so that's good. 2 fountains.
Get the fountain!
No, there we go.
All right.
Shad, once again, more backline damage onto the Falstad and the Nazebo here. And yeah, they're just living in the enemy base. This is their base now.
Now what Shad is doing is using his shurikens with Shingun. The critical damage, if you hit all 3 shurikens on the same target, that's very easy to long distance hit on the keep. They're starting to try and whittle down that middle keep here. It has devolved or evolved into this.
Shad is just poking it down and then dashing away to freedom. And looks like they finally realized that, yeah, we don't want to hang around here. They're going to go back, grab some mercenaries as they have now respawned. They can soak to 20, which is just coming up for them, and then just continue doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, which is playing really darn well,
just a bit.
With the exception of the wishful thinking on the core. I think they could have had the keep if they played it differently. But now they have level 20, and suddenly, I think they could do it. They're waiting here to try and get a kill. Nice cleanse on Mopsio.
Yeah, and Mopsio is fine. He's dropping some beetles every now and again, and that keep is down. 2 keeps down in 16 minutes. A noob going in, Ancestral and Ice Block combined together very nicely. That is some synergy.
Yeah, but Mighty Gus was used as well. Now no more Ice Block, no Ancestral available.
Where's the damage? They're not focusing him down here, so Ice Beam, he gets knocked up. The Twilight Dream is good though, and there's the Dragon Blade. Shad is tearing through the lineup of Synergy. It's a full 5-man team wipe for 0 kills by Synergy. That's gonna be GG, and Zealots will take game number 1. Well then, that's how you open a series.
These are the Open Division Europe second placer. They had the most points in the qualifiers, and they have come to show what they are made of. 15-2 in takedowns, haven't lost a fort. They look dominant, actually.
That is how you do that. And we were talking about the draft in some ways, and that pressure on the bottom lane makes a little bit more sense when we do think about that, because like we said, longer the game goes, the less likely it is that Zealots could really close it out because Nazeebo's damage is going to get insane. So what they did is they just kept the pressure on forever. They didn't pull back and just soak for 20. They pulled back to grab mercenaries so that they could push in and force a team fight which could end the game for them because they had level 20.
Exactly. Like, even if they were faced with a situation where they end up taking a tower in the bottom lane and the opponent, Synergy, they get a tower in the top, that will be fine for them. They want to hyper-accelerate the destruction of fortifications on both sides if they have to, just so that they can end up trying to finish with the Dragonite. They do not give Synergy the time to get a comfortable late-game Nazeebo game plan.
Exactly, and there's some beautiful play by everyone on that team. Shad, especially the incredible harassment he was putting onto the backline. And of course, Poik, as I ended up messing up there, he just dominated that game. You would see him with the double Vault of Hungering Arrow just bursting down Tyrael. And that was super cool to see. He played that absolutely perfectly, and Grand Paqueta, good cleanses, good healing, just did such a good job.
And that Twilight Dream to close it out with the Bolt of the Storm. Twilight Dream, the power play. Everyone expects it, but everyone fears it. You go in the middle of the opponent team, you silence everyone, you deal 500, 600, 700 damage, and that is the nail in the coffin for them.
So, really well played by Zealots. We're going to head to a very quick break while we get the new game set up, and we will be back in a couple seconds. That is some synergy.
Yeah, but Mighty Gus was used as well. Now no more Ice Block, no Ancestral available.
Dream, where's the damage? They're not focusing him down here, so Ice Beam, he gets knocked up. The Twilight Dream is good though, and there's the Dragon Blade. Shad is tearing through the lineup of Synergy. It's a full 5-man team wipe for 0 kills by Synergy. That's gonna be GG, and Zealots will take game number 1.